Okay, I wanted to give you a little bit of help as far as getting your final project done. And on this screen, I've created a numeric entry, a numeric display. This is an alarm list. This is an alarm call button. And over here, I've got a button that I've created in order to create a message box. I'll show you how that's done in just a minute. But first of all, let's start with the numeric entry. If you go to the object file, and you find numeric entry in the object file, you'll have an option of list of different types of buttons to pull up here for the numeric entry keypad. I chose the one, pulled it up, and I use this one. When you bring it up, this is the numeric entry keypad screen that will show up. As always, you've got a picture of what you're creating. You'll have a chance to label it as whatever you want. On this particular one, I'm kind of helping you tie this into your program. So this is the tanning time for client 1. Font size for all that's listed listed in here. Any display format for the numbers. This I've got it set up for up to 5 digits. You really should only need 2, but it doesn't really matter. And then this set up for assigned decimal. If there's any leading numbers or comments, prefixes or comments, suffixes that go with it, you can add those here. But we don't have to add any at this particular point. I could have probably added minutes. I could take and add that to it, and it should show, as you see over here, it shows minutes up here now. Okay. As far as something else I need you to understand or note, that in this number right here, we've listed the maximum range that you can enter into this numeric entry keypad, anywhere from 0 to 30, because as I set up in your program, 30 minutes is the maximum each client could have. All right. We've labeled this, tagged this as time tanning client 1. This is how long the client has to tan. And it's going into the preset for T49. It will go in as a number between 0 and 1800, not between 0 and 30. Now, how did I achieve that? I'm going to go back here and let's go to options. If you look at options, you've got a chance to do a scaling, what's called a scaling option in this particular numeric entry. The display value, what number you'll be seeing displayed on the screen of your numeric entry, will be somewhere between 0 and 30. But the difference is that the number that gets placed into the accumulator, or the preset of the timer rather, is 0 to 1800. 1800 representing 30 minutes at 60 seconds per minute, because the timer is going to count on a 1 second preset or 1 second time base. Okay, that should help you get set up as far as how you put up your numeric entry for the particular client. I'll get through all that. I'm going to tell it okay. Now keep in mind, this screen right here is actually going to be on your owner's screen, not the client's screen. The next screen I'm going to show you should be on your client's screen. This is a numeric display. Also, if you go to your object list and you find numeric display, get what kind of pattern you want to pull in and drag it over to your screen, whichever screen you put it on. Again, remember, this should be showing on your client screen, not necessarily on your owner screen. You can still have it show on your owner screen as well, but the client screen is really going to be needing to see this. Okay, so if you go to that, you bring up the numeric display. You can see the numeric display shows there. The name of it is Numeric Display 1, but we've labeled it as Time Remaining Client 1. That's what's showing on the screen of the numeric display rather. Same things available on this screen is available on numeric entry. You got font color, text size, font color, text size on the label, display format, how you're going to display it on the screen, and then we also have to tag it. Now this one I've tagged as time remaining client 1, and the value is being shown from C521's accumulator, which is the counter that shows how many minutes the client has left. It's a countdown counter. Okay, pretty straightforward there. All right, and once again, once you get that set up, and as far as options, in this particular case, I'm not going to do any scaling options on this, although in some situations it may be you may have the ability to do that based on how your program's set up. But in this particular case, I'm not showing that because the display value that we're going to be showing is actually going to be in minutes from the counter's countdown accumulator. So I'm not going to do any scaling option here. I'm going to tell it OK. And as I told you earlier, the scaling options that I'm doing it in the PLC for you, in the PLC program for you. Okay, the next thing you see up here is an alarm list. Each time there's an alarm that's created, you create an alarm list from the event manager database. I'll show you that in just a minute, but this is what an alarm list would look like. And each time there's an alarm generated, it will show up on this list, and it will just keep adding to this as each alarm creates. Now you can take this thing, enlarge it if you want to, so you can show more. It's pretty much, I think it's all the way out as far as left and right, so there's all the columns that you'll see. Have to think back and see if you can add columns. I'm not sure that you can, but I believe this was actually all you'll really need to see. But as I said, you can lengthen this and change all those options in there. Okay, now when will this show up? Well, in my setup screen of the alarm list, we can see this is an alarm summary. It'll show all alarms. This is a picture of what it's going to look like. It shows you that on the side. We have language options, but the list format, grid line, enable this, all this information is stuff that you can convert and you can change and make the screen look pretty much like you want to. If it's active, it'll have the background of red. If it's a text, it'll be background in yellow. You can make it blink. You can make the archive blink. You can do all that with it just by clicking this. Text size, number of characters, all that stuff can be listed for you and determined for you right here. Now, display, other options that are available there is time. How do you want the time and date to show? You can play with all this. I've pretty much left this on mine as default. Didn't want to mess with too much of that. But the one thing I did do is in the options screen. I set up this alarm list to only be visible when I press when a button called alarm goes active, when it becomes on and goes active. Well, if you look here, there's my alarm button that I've placed on the screen. The only time that this screen will be seen is when I toggle this alarm button on, and if I toggle it off, it will go away. Okay? All right. And then one other thing before I pull this down and let you see it as on the simulation. If you go to your database button at the top, click your drop down, there's a device option called Event Manager Database. If you click on that, you'll see this listed, and it gives you the options to add. We can add an event, we can edit an event, we can delete an event. Well, in this particular case, I've already added 2 events. The first one is called time expired. The tag that I'm looking at, I've given it the tag name of client 1 time done. And if you look over here, client 1 time done is a discrete bit in the PLC, and it's looking at C521's done bit. When that countdown counter's done bit sets, this event will occur. Well, when this done bit sets and it goes on, this arrow points down to this event will occur. And the event is called an alarm. You can see it's checked off over here. So this is an alarm event. I've got it set up to create a text that says client 1 time is up. So when this alarm occurs, client 1's time up message will appear on screen. All right. The second event that I created is called client 1 begin. And this would be something that would be a button that would be on the owner's screen to be able to tell the client 1 that their screen at the Tanibed is actually energized and ready for them to go. It can give them a message that client 1's time is ready to begin. And if you'll notice, once I push this client 1 begin button over here, it goes to the on state, and that will cause this event down here to occur. Well, I unchecked the alarm bit, and only had it do the second option, which is a message box. Now, and how do you get to that? How do you make that occur? Well, we go to add an action, and you'll see message box as an option right there. When you click that, it gives you, I've created another second message box. I'll end up deleting it, but it gives you the option to put the title for the message box and any text that you're going to add and put into that text box. Okay, once you do that, you tell it to apply, you've got an extra message box. I'm going to uncheck that message box. So it's still there, it's created. You just won't be able to see it because the only one that's going to be done, or only thing that's going to work, is the one that I have checked, which is the first one I already had set up. Okay, we'll tell it to close. We won't save any of that options there, and it'll still, because it'll go away. The other one will. But I now have 2 events. You can have an unlimited number of events that can occur off of any other on-off options, or if you noticed. Let me go back to this one again. If you noticed, if I address this value here to an analog value, if I address it to an analog value and say that I want this event to occur only when it is outside the range or inside the range, let's try. Well, I can create another one. That's what we'll do. We'll just go back and create another one and see if we can't show that. We're going to add an event. It's going to be tag named analog count, and we're going to address it to device 1's memory address, which would be we'll say input 2:0. So that's going to be looking at input slot 2 channel 0, which should be an analog event on your PLC. Telling me I've got an invalid address. Oh, wait, I know what it is. It's .0. So now it sees it as an analog value. The only time this event will occur is when the value goes outside my minimum range of 0 and my maximum range of 32,767. Well, that really can't quite occur because it's not going to let me do that anyway. But what if I wanted it between 15,000 or wanted it outside the range of 15,000 and 20,000? I can put a minimum value of 15,000, maximum value of 20,000, and the only time this event will occur and be active is when the number in memory location analog count in the PLC is either below 15,000 or above 20,000. Or you can go to the drop down over here and make it inside that range. What if it's between 15,000 and 20,000 now? This event will occur. It's active during that period of time. And whatever event that you've got set up down here for that event will occur. We can add an action. Let's make it, if it's inside that range, we're going to have a sound. We're going to have a beep, and it's going to beep one time. I can change that to any number of times. We can make it loop and repeat. So now I've got a sound event that's going to occur when my alarm count goes between 15,000 and 20,000. We'll add it, close here. So now I've got 3 events. So this is your event manager database. It controls a lot of things. If you've watched any of the Automation Direct videos, some of the animation videos will actually have you build some system files into this to create some of your animations. We're not really asked to get into animations by the objectives of the course. If we had more time and had we been more probably in class more often, I would have gotten you to an animation effect, and maybe we can do that in the preceding or the succeeding classes at some point. We'll definitely have to get into it a little bit in advanced process. But anyway, I'm going to click off here, and now you'll see what my screen looks like. And again, these things can be placed anywhere you want to in your program, in your HMI program. But let's look at simulation on this. Some things we can simulate, some we can't. But we're going to go to the simulation. We're going to start the simulation, and you'll see here how the screen looks in the simulation when I send it down to the HMI. what it's going to look like. And notice there is no alarm list here. It's not showing. But what happens when I click alarm? You can see when I click the alarm button, it showed up. I toggle it on, it shows up. When I toggle it off, it's going to go away. It is visible only when I toggle this alarm button on, and goes off when I turn it off. Now, if I want to do my client 1 tanning time, click on my display, my numeric entry display. You hit the option to keypad comes up. I punch in 15, hit enter, and you can see it shows up now on my tanning time for the client. Nothing's going to show up on the time remaining for the client because we don't have it attached to the PLC, so it can actually look at the value that's in C521 accumulator. Okay, but now down here is my message button, which is on my screen, and I'm going to tell the client 1 that his time is ready to begin. I click that, you can see the message pops up. Client 1, you can begin when you're ready. And then your answer would be, then that would be okay. You would turn it off. You have to turn off the client button down here as well too. I mentioned that if the client 1 time is done, if you look over here in your simulation box, and we'll pull both of these up a little bit so you can see. I'll say, there we go. If you look at the simulation box right here or to the side, if I go to client 1 time to C521's done bit and I turn it on, you can see here at the bottom of the screen we had a message show up, client 1 time is up, and it's flashing because I set it up to be flashing. I turn it off, it goes away. All right, those are probably the last 3 things you need to be familiar with to be able to finish your project that ties all these together: the red light circuit, the passcode keypad, and now the tanning bed project. Okay, all right, now one other thing, you probably have run into the issue of, well, how did I create T421 and C521 and all those others? Well, if you go to your program format, and when you go to a timer or a counter or anything for that matter, you can create any number of timers that you want, up to, I think on Allen Bradley 500 it's 255. But if you double click on that timer box, you're only given 1 or 2 to begin with, maybe 4 off of 500 software for the 1500 PLC, but for the 1100 PLC they only give you 1 to start with. But if you click on properties, this pop-up comes up. Elements, you punch in there and you can get 255. Hit enter. Now you notice that you've got from T40, if you use the drag down, you can find it'll go all the way to 254 timers. You can do the same thing with counters. Same thing, pull it over here, go to properties, make that 255, or as many as you need, but 255 is the max in this particular software. You can do it with outputs. Properties, set how many outputs you want. Okay, but that's where you'd actually go to change, to be able to allow yourself to have a number of B3 bits, binary bits. If you go to properties, I can set those at 255. Oops. And you've got 255 B3 words that you can use anywhere in your program. And I think you notice in the passcode program, that's where I put a lot of those in there in the passcode project. Okay, that's about it for this video. I'll be looking for any questions, and we can go over this as many times as you need. You can go over this video.